Hi YouTube, it's Kathy and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up for January 22nd through 28th. This week I read one book, I watched 3 shows, and I listened to 1 audiobook. Longtime viewers of the channel know that I am in my parents' basement. It was my mom's retirement party last night. She'd been a nurse since 1995, and now she's retired, so we had a party about it, and that's why we're here. It's also been a busy week in general, which is why I consumed less things than I maybe normally would in other weeks. The book I read this week is something I picked up for a local book club. It is called Rosa by Amber Dawn. This is something that, had it not been for the book club, I probably would have DNF'd it, but I really want to support this local book club and I want to go to the meeting, so I had to finish it. This is a contemporary fantasy novel set somewhere in Canada. It's not very specific about where. About this girl who's been bouncing around. She's homeless, she's been going between different couches and flop sites and all that type of stuff. And she comes to realize that where she's staying, she's probably not going to be able to stay there much longer, and then she meets this guy and then basically ends up in sex work. I knew going into this that this was about magical sex workers, so this was not a problem for me. I knew that that's what this novel was about. I know that the author of this novel has a history of sex work, so like I knew all of this going into it, but the main character doesn't have any form of personality or doesn't seem to care about what is happening to her one way or the other, and that was really off-putting to me. It's not until way later in the novel where it seems like she might have some opinions, and like I said, if I had my way I would have DNF'd this way before that happened. Additionally, the ending is incredibly ambiguous, or I didn't understand it, or possibly both, so this just wasn't really for me. I wanted it to be, but it wasn't. As for what we watched this week, we finally got into the 3rd season of the Orville, which is called New Horizons. I imagine because 1, it sounds more like a Star Trek thing, even though this is not Star Trek, and 2, because the 3rd season was produced by Hulu, and I can't remember who produced the first couple of seasons, but there was a switchover. There was also apparently some redesigns and costuming and that type of stuff between the seasons, but because it's been so long since I saw the first 2 seasons, I didn't notice that. If you've never seen it before, this show stars Seth MacFarlane, and he is the captain on a ship, much like the Enterprise in Star Trek, if you will, but this one is called the Orville. And they are going to different places, interacting with different beings, having a generally good or at least interesting time. It was definitely fun to see these characters again and kind of go, oh yeah, this person, oh yeah, those people used to date. How is that working out for them now? We're only 4 episodes in. I don't actually even know how many episodes are in the season, but I imagine it's no more than 10. So it will be interesting to see where it goes from here, because I don't know if there is going to be a 4th season. I don't think one has been confirmed. So I don't know if this is going to have kind of a cliffhanger, hoping that it does get another season, or if it kind of ends in a peaceful way where if this were the end of it, that would be okay. I of course also saw a bunch more episodes of Ally McBeal just as my roommate was watching them, and she finally got together with John Bon Jovi, which we've been waiting for ages, and I can understand her hesitation in doing that because now she also has a child, which is a weird plot twist for sure. That child is also played by the cheerleader from Heroes, so that's super weird to watch. And we finally got John Bon Jovi singing, although not in the bar like everybody else tends to sing. He's just got a guitar, and there are a few different scenes in which he's done some singing, and I was like, okay, we finally got around to that. Like I've said before, I'm not watching every episode of this, so it's just kind of fun to pop in and be like, oh, that's where the characters are at. Neat, because I've never seen these episodes before, so it's just kind of fun to pop in and see how things are going. Speaking of episodes I've never seen before, we are in the 7th season of House, which is definitely territory I had never seen before when it was previously on television. I believe we only watched 1, maybe 2 episodes this week, just because we had other things going on, but it was kind of fun to see House and Wilson acting like basically 2 men and a baby type of routine, like, oh, how do we deal with this small child? And watching them try to babysit Cuddy's kid was quite entertaining. Also, Jennifer Grey was in one of those episodes, and had her name not come up at the beginning of the episode, I wouldn't have recognized her, because she obviously looks a little different from when she was in Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Dirty Dancing, and that just reminds me that I recently watched a true crime video about the fact that she was in a car crash in Ireland, and that was around the time that Dirty Dancing was coming out. She didn't go on the tour for that. She ended up having to get a plate in her neck at some point, I believe, so that crash really affected her life. It obviously affected the life of the driver, who ended up actually killing a couple of people, so, you know, know, there's all of that. I'd like to say this would be a weird segue, but it seems pretty on par for me. Speaking of killing people, let's move on to the audiobook I listened to this week. That was called The Babysitter, My Summers with a Serial Killer. Now picture this. You are, you know, in your late 40s and you wake up from this really weird dream where you're back on Cape Cod as a kid, and this guy that usually babysat you all the time because your mom was kind of a terrible person and would just leave you with literally anyone, but he was like the fun guy. You really liked hanging out with this guy. He was also attractive, so like you had a little like 9-year-old crush on him and that type of stuff. Anyway, you wake up from this dream where like he was giving you really scary vibes. So you figure, even though you don't really want to talk to your mom about it, you ask her like, hey, do you have any idea why I would have had a scary dream about Tony Costa? And she's like, well, he did end up being a serial killer. So this is a thing that actually happened. This is a nonfiction book about a girl who, years after her old babysitter was found to be a guy that killed a bunch of people, she found out about it. This book is interesting in that you're seeing her perspective, and then you're also seeing his perspective, because there's two different writers to it. She's writing her portion, somebody else is writing his portion, and that's taken from trial documents and this factual novel that he wrote while he was in prison and all of these different things. And it's written in narrative nonfiction, so it's written in the type of nonfiction that's easy to read instead of textbook. This was highly interesting. Another thing that I really enjoyed about this is at the end of it, it actually went through and tried to figure out some of the crimes that had been attributed to him but never proved. And they actually found out that some of the people that people back in the day thought he had killed, he didn't. They are perfectly alive and living their lives elsewhere, which is so fascinating. And it's a little unbelievable and fantastical to me that she would have a dream, find out this terrible thing from her past, and then write a book about it. That's just kind of a cool angle, honestly. Especially because I assume she's actually written some other things before. There was a section in this book where she was really proud of herself. She had to go to this summer camp that she was away for a couple of weeks, but she ended up breaking her toe a couple of days in, and her mom wouldn't come pick her up because her mom is an interesting human being. So she decided that she was going to write her first novel. She was going to write a 100-page novel, and she did it, and then her mom just laughed at her, like wouldn't listen to the book at all and that type of thing. So I can tell from an early age she was a writer, so it would be interesting to see what else she has written, if anything. That's it for this week. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. If you don't feel like leaving a comment but want to make sure that I know you were here, just leave me an emoji or a smiley face if you happen to be on your keyboard. Some people have asked if there's a way to financially support this channel, so I set up a Ko-fi account, which is a digital tipping service. The link for that, as always, is down below. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!